Time for me to mute everybody and do the countdown.
Okay.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Madam Presiding Officer, you have the screen.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Woo-hoo. We are rolling through September. I'm ready for Santa. I don't know. I talk about it every week, but I'm just ready for cooler weather. For those of you who are in the eastern part of the state, you know why, because it's like living in an oven out here. So I am really excited about stepping outside the door and just feeling that chill, that burr. Was that last week? Yeah, we're in one of the burr months. I like it. Yay, where's a sweater? My goodness, let me stop being silly. I know we have an awesome meeting lined up. I did want to just mention one quick thing. I was going through, there's a thing called the Club Leadership Handbook, which always wipes out when you have a background and you try to show something. And I thought this was rather interesting. I had forgotten about this. Toastmasters Pathways Learning Experience. Now, some of the folks that have been around in Toastmasters, we kind of go, ah, because we had in the past manuals that we went through. But with Pathways now, of course, we all know there are 5 levels. Mastering the fundamentals, level 1, learning your style, number 2, increasing knowledge, level 3, building those skills for level 4, and then pulling it all together by doing a longer project, a more, I don't want to say intense, but engaging project in demonstrating your expertise for level 5 before you complete that path. I thought that was rather interesting to just sort of remind us about that, as I know I forget that quite often. Let us see. We can do quick announcements afterwards. I'm going to relinquish control to our awesome Toastmaster because I know she is ready to go. Miss Tina, are you ready?
I am ready.
Lectern
Yes,
is yours.
Alicia, Madam President. Welcome, McDowell NC Toastmasters. It is so awesome to see a full screen of happy faces. Alicia, you need to come back up here because when I walked out this morning and it was 55 degrees and all the plants were perked up and the flowers, everybody was happy this morning. So get out of Fayetteville, girl. Well, tonight's theme is some fun facts about September 9th. It's not a big day, but well, maybe there are some things. I'm going to talk to you about it's National Wiener Schnitzel Day. It's also National Ants on a Log Day, National Teddy Bear Day. So I'm going to give you some facts about that and maybe a little bit of history. I'd like to first mention that our agenda had one change prior to the meeting starting, and that was our speaker 3, Martha, had to step away. Illness has prevailed in the Mills household, and which meant that Adina is not going to be able to be our evaluator, but she certainly will be a good table topic participant. I'm curious if our joke master has a joke or a thought tonight. Tony, what do you bring into the table?
I have 3 short jokes. So strap yourself down. Here we go. Back in the day, my grandpa started to say, you could walk into a grocery store with $3 in your pocket and walk out with a loaf of bread, a dozen eggs, and a bit of butter as well. But now, wherever you go, there are those darn cameras. Okay, number 2. Somehow I managed to make it through high school math while only being able to remember even numbers. What are the odds? And finally, the last one. A young man robbed a bank with a suit made of many mirrors, but he turned himself in after taking some time to reflect. Luckily, the judge was lenient as he saw a lot of himself in the man. Okay, with that, back to Tina.
I do believe that Tony is trying to take the bad dad joke award away from some other people. Fun fact, 1776, the United States got its name, the United States. Prior to that, it was called the United Colonies. Our Continental Congress adopted the United States to refer to our new nation in 1776 on September 9th. I'd like to call on our functionaries, our listening and looking eyes and ear team members tonight. If you'll explain your roles to our members and how you're planning on doing your job. Let's start with our grammarian. Madam President, Madam Grammarian, Alicia.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My friends, we need to watch our grammar. What do I mean by that? Are you using the correct noun and verb pairing? Are you using those adjectives correctly? I will be listening closely to make sure that you are putting those sentences together properly, because that's what we do. We want to make sure that we sound good when we speak. Along with taking notes on that and maybe some terms or phrases that I'm sure each of you are going to come up with, because that's what we do in this club. I'm going to challenge you to use the word of the day, and that's sanguine. I thought we'd go a little different here. It's a formal word. It describes someone who is confident and hopeful, or maybe something that shows confidence and hopefulness. It can also describe something that is blood red in color, hence the background of our beautiful word of the day, Hollywood square, sanguine. Can be also something involving or relating to bloodshed or a person's reddish complexion. So we have a lot of opportunity to use sanguine tonight and in the remaining part of, or the rest of the week. Wow, I can mark that down. Alicia cannot pull a sentence together. How do we use sanguine in a sentence? The young group of entrepreneurs is sanguine about the future of their business. Please try to use sanguine in your comments tonight. I will be listening. I will report back when asked with how well you used grammar and how many times each of you used the word of the day. And that's the challenge. Everybody's got to use the word of the day. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Alicia. Ashley is our ah counter tonight. I think I saw her marking down some of my stuff already. Ashley, share with us your role this evening.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Honestly, I hadn't written anything quite yet about you, but now I have my eye out. Greetings to all of my other fellow Toastmasters. The purpose of the awe counter is to listen out for some of those irritating and frustrating little words that we all just seem to use. So like things of that nature. I will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase, otherwise called a Xerox. At the end of the meeting, I will report the number of times that each speaker used these words or phrases or repeats. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ashley. Quick story, sidebar. Yesterday, I gave a presentation to a group of professional senior care experts. I didn't have a timer. I felt naked in front of that audience. I had no idea where I was going when I started. Did I run over? Was I too short? I think the timer really keeps us disciplined. Sarah, what will you be looking for tonight as the timer?
Good afternoon, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. As a timer, I will time table topics, speakers, formal speeches, and evaluations. I will also alert each speaker of the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red cards, which denote specific times remaining. Table topic speakers should limit their remarks to no more than 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will raise the green card. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, I will raise the yellow card. At 2 minutes, I will raise the red card. Those giving speeches is limited to 4 to 6 minutes if it's an icebreaker. At 4 minutes, I'll raise the green card. 5 minutes, the yellow card. 6 minutes, the red card. Most other speeches should be 5 to 7 minutes in length. So at 5 minutes, I will raise the green card. At 6 minutes, I will raise the yellow card. At 7 minutes, I will raise the red card. And the individual evaluation should be between 2 and 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will raise the green card. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will raise the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I will raise the red card. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sarah. I look forward to hearing everyone's report this evening. I am sanguine about our speakers tonight. But I want to share 2 more fun facts about this day in history. 1850, our 31st state was admitted to our union. Does anybody know which state that is? Sandy.
California.
Yay! She gets a gold star. Now, I think this one's for Tony. In 1947, the first computer bug was recorded. Grace Hopper and her team found a moth inside the Harvard Mark II computer, coining the term computer bug. Is that true, Tony?
That's what I taught in my courses.
Oh, well, then it is true.
I even have a picture of it.
The moth?
Yeah,
That's awesome. Well, thank you for those extra tidbits of information. Speaker 1. There she is. Okay. Speaker 1 is working in presentation mastery, level 1, vocal variety, and body language. It is presentation mastery. Our first speaker this evening is presenting a powerful story. This project challenges this speaker to use their voice and physical presence to bring a message to life. Tonight, Kim will take us into the heart of a real-life emergency. When Hurricane Helene unexpectedly hit our Western North Carolina mountains, Kim is going to share that story. Through vivid storytelling and emotion, she'll share what it felt like to lead through the chaos, to serve her community in the darkest of moments, and to find strength when it mattered most. Please welcome Kim Effler. One deep breath, Kim Effler.
Hurricane Helene arrived in McDowell County in the early morning hours of Friday, September 27th, 2024. But I arrived here at the Emergency Operations Center the day before, confident, prepared, a little worried. You see, I'd never led my business community through a hurricane. Why? Because hurricanes don't affect the mountains of Western North Carolina. I brought my fully charged laptop. I packed a towel, soap, a change of clothes, a toothbrush, just in case. I settled in. I worked into the evening hours alongside my community partners, listening, observing, preparing, reminding myself of my role. Match businesses with resources and repeat. The first call came in the evening hours. A man needed help towing his boat off of Lake James. Easy. I called a business. I sang genuinely, made it happen. Boom, done. Displayed 911 call logs, wind speeds, lake levels, still. As the rain relentlessly continued and the night wore on, the energy began to shift. Special ops, the table next to me, began deploying. The 911 call logs started to grow. The next morning, the winds picked up, trees danced wildly outside the window, but I wasn't worried. I expected limbs in the driveway, maybe a few power outages. My friends, I was wrong. I quickly realized the whole world had changed. Rescue boats on trailers were pulling in. Helicopters were buzzing overhead. Just inside the doors, a circle of uniformed officers planning active rescues. Where was I? I must be dreaming. A meeting was about to start. Updates were looming. Our county had been devastated by the worst event in the state's history. And I was learning firsthand how bad it truly was. I felt lost, dazed, confused, helpless, hopeless, and truly terrified. How could I help? How could any of us help? I didn't know how to do this work. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know anything about emergency services. Just breathe. One deep breath. Kim, focus. There's no time to panic, no time to cry. Save lives. Do not break. So we got to work fast. We jumped in. We created a warehouse system for donated goods because the need was overwhelming. And the irony, water is what flooded us. Water is what we needed to survive. And we had none. We had no clean water. And our neighbors, they were hurting too. So we reached farther. We reached out to Charlotte, and Charlotte came with water, with food. They came with diapers and formula and hygiene items. And when we called, they responded. People called with hot meals, money, helicopters, planes. Everyone wanted to help. Everyone. So we kept building this system. We created a process for reporting missing people, my people. We fed hundreds of emergency workers. We set up distribution sites. We matched needs with resources again and again and again. We kept our heads down and our minds engaged for 7 straight days. And on some days, just walking to the bathroom felt like I was letting my people down. All hands, every second, all week. Eventually, I left the command center. I traveled around the county and I saw the destruction. And that's when I finally let myself feel all the emotion I had tucked away. It flooded out. It still is. My body was so weary, my jaw clenched for weeks. I played a small part in this storm, but I witnessed something unforgettable. I saw people lift an entire community, my community, one life at a time. This experience has changed me forever. I have a new, renewed faith in humanity, in the people of Appalachia, in the strength of these people, these mountains that I call home. And even now, I'm still fighting for my community, for the businesses I serve, and for the people that I love. And every time I walk back into this room, I absorb all of that trauma all over again. But we didn't stop fighting. We kept fighting. I'm changed in my heart, in my mind, all because I took one deep breath. I didn't break, and neither did we. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kim. Madam Timer, may we have a minute on the clock if everyone would send Kim some notes in the chat? Thank you. Thank you. I don't know that I want to follow that, but I'm going to try to lighten the load and talk to you about National Ants on a Log Day. It's such an interesting little food snack. It came around in the 50s under the guise of let's offer a healthy snack to children. Celery, peanut butter, and raisins. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever had it. I guess I need to go try that. You know, growing up in an Italian household with immigrant grandparents, you ate hard cheeses and oranges, and sometimes you got a little glass of wine. That was the healthy snack in our household. I'm looking forward to our next speaker. Carlos is working in presentation mastery, level 1, evaluation and feedback, and this is speech 1. Have you ever experienced a so-called blessing in disguise? Carlos has. He's going to tell us all about it and how sometimes life works just like a story unfolding every second. Carlos Lopez, a new leaf, Carlos Lopez.
Some of you may remember when I was working up the mountain in the YMCA in Avery County, specifically after Hurricane Helene, when all the disaster relief was happening. In mid-November, we were close to resuming our normal operations. However, there were a few individuals still tasked with the disaster relief efforts as a means to providing ongoing support for those in need, and I was one of those. Unfortunately, a month later, near the end of December, when the YMCA's budget review came along, there were cuts that unfortunately had to be done to a few programs, including staff members, and of course, I was also one of them. I had no complaints, however. They gave me the news in a respectful way with enough time to collect everything and allow for a smooth transition of responsibilities to the next person or to whoever would be taking on my workload. That might seem like a series of unfortunate events, but it's all about perspective and how you see the situation. I would later learn that this was a blessing in disguise. You see, after the hurricane, my commute to work was an hour and 30 minutes, when before it was only 45 minutes, due to the original route being taken out by Hurricane Helene. As someone who was not a local, it was also difficult to get things rolling, such as gaining approval and trust from the locals, and that required consistency and some more work because I was essentially out of the area. I would also have to leave my house around 7 a.m. to make it by 8:30, and there were days where I didn't get home until about 6 or 7 in the evening. So most of my days would be taken up by going to work, being at work, and then coming home from work. Also, fun fact, I drive a Nissan Sentra, little car, four-door sedan, not something crazy, not built for anything off-road, just standard driving. 2 days after I was let go, the mountains received their first heavy snow of the season, and my little Nissan was not going to make it up there. It was no match for that, absolutely not. Not to mention the ice that followed and the ice and the cold weather that was already taking place beforehand. I remember having to drive up in the snow at some point, but it was not as heavy as it was at the time. The best thing about not knowing where you're going to go is that you can go anywhere. And now the horizon was clear. Like I said, I had no complaints and I had everything to be grateful for. Now I had to set my sights on a new direction. My mother does commercial custodial services for a company called Columbia Forest Products in Old Fort, North Carolina. And if you don't know what that is, they are a plywood supplier specializing in different types of plywood in different sizes from 3-ply all the way up to 9-ply. Wooden panels of an array of different plywoods and hardwoods like red oak, white oak, and maple, just to name a few. They are mostly known for the way that they make their plywood using a layered hardwood plywood technology held together by their Pure Bond formaldehyde-free adhesive glue. My mom, having been working there for several years, got to know some good contacts, and she confirmed with me that they had an open position and asked me if I wanted to apply. I thought for a moment, this is going to be something that I've never done, or quite frankly, didn't think that I was going to do. But you know me, I'm all about taking that leap of faith, so I went for it. I am now 6 months into this company, working third shift, and it has been a humbling and eye-opening experience so far. My position is called a spreader operator in the company's gluing department. I am on a machine with 3 other operators. Allow me to show you how exactly that works. We are on a machine with 2 spreaders, one on top, one on bottom. One person will feed a sheet of wood through the spreader and glue will get on both sides. Then on the second or on the opposite side, the 2 other operators will stack that wood and stack a dry piece of wood and then another glued piece of wood and then another unglued piece of wood and then a layer of hardwood, and that will continue until a full panel is finished. And the order depends on whether it's 3-ply, 5-ply, 7 or 9. Now, that is finished and then it gets pressed and then sent on to the sander, the grater, then cut and ready for distribution. Now, I'm the kind of person that looks into things much, much deeper than surface level. During my shift, I get 2 10-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch. As someone who used to get an hour lunch, that was something that was a little tough to get used to. But on the flip side, it made me more resourceful with my time. You'd be surprised what you can get done in 10 minutes if you really lock in. I've also met some great people in the manufacturing field, and if there's anything that I can say about blue collar workers, it's that they have no time for BS, and I love that. They will keep it 100% real with you. And being in a collar environment has made me more adaptable, and I've sharpened my problem solving skills and, interestingly enough, my peripheral vision, because I rely on a lot on that right now. Now, this far into my new saga of my story, I've been met with new characters, new challenges, character development of my own, and witnessing other people's character development thanks to my influence, new plot lines, and probably the most fulfilling thing is seeing characters from other chapters of my story in a new chapter or a current one. This is what turning over a new leaf means. It means turning over a new page in your story. And who knows how far the story will go. As long as you keep turning the pages, you will always experience something new. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wonderful, Carlos. He's landed on his feet. Madam Timer, may we have another minute if everyone will share some thoughts back to Carlos. It's an Austrian dish, not German, Austrian. And in Austria, they require it to be made with veal. I know that could be problematic for some people here in the States. They tenderize the thin slice of veal. They lightly salt it, they bread it, and then they deep fry it in clarified butter. It sounds delicious. But I guess we have to go to Austria to have an authentic one. Although in Hendersonville, well, it's a German restaurant. They serve it, but it's not Austrian. I digress. It's time for this club's favorite activity, table topics. Joe, is this your first time as table topics master?
Yes, it is, Madam Toastmaster.
Well, we are all excited for your debut. I turn this over to you, sir.
Greetings, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. The purpose of the Table Topics Master is to facilitate table topics, where guests and members will have the opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking. I will introduce a topic and call on speakers who will be given 2 minutes to speak on the subject. And my theme today is change. First, I will call on Adina. Question is, if there was one thing you could change about yourself other than improving your speaking skills, what would it be?
Well, if there was anything I could change at all, like no boundaries, no requirements or box I have to fit, I would give myself superpowers. I would love to have some superpowers. And I have thought about what superpower I would want for a long time. And I settled on gravity manipulation. So that seems like kind of small and niche. However, if you think about it really hard, I could fly. I could make people bow before me. I could grab the remote from the TV that I never use and hold it. I still probably wouldn't turn it on, but I didn't have to get up to get it. I was thinking you might even be able to teleport with gravity manipulation if the whole wormhole theory pans out that way. So gravity would be a really great superpower, and if I could change myself to have that, oh yeah, I would definitely have some gravity. And then I could even make cats bow before me, and they bow before no one. I wonder if I could pressure cook that way. I could make some roasts really quickly, in like a third of the time, and not worry about exploding the house when I try. Thank you, back to you. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Adina. Great answer. And this one's for Sarah. If you had to change careers completely, what would you do for the rest of your career?
Given the fact that I absolutely love my job, that would be devastating. If I had to change my career path, I think I would become a teacher. Back in high school, I did want to teach. However, I did not follow through on that dream and go to college. At one point, I even signed up to be a substitute teacher. I was like, maybe I should actually try this the easier way to see if I would be able to handle dealing with different grade levels of students. Toddlers or kindergartners, they're all running around like crazy, not listening. I don't know if I can handle that anymore. Preteens, I have one of my own. They have smart mouse. I can't talk back to them in middle school. In high school, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what goes on there. So, would I even be a teacher? I would have to try it. But that's the career that I wanted to go. But instead, I'm a retail sales manager for US Cellular by T-Mobile, and I absolutely love my job. Back to you, Table Topics Master Joe.
Thank you, Sarah. Another wonderful answer. And Tony, this one's for you. If you had to move to a new city in the US or abroad, where would you go?
A new city. Well, that's kind of ironic because we moved from the city out to the middle of nowhere. So that is really my better choice. It takes a half hour for us to get to Morganton, Marion, and Ruffton. And I love it. For me, a successful day is when I don't have to take socks off at the end of the day. That means either I didn't leave the house, or at least the properties all day long, or the weather outside was so nice I could wear sandals. So if I had to move someplace else, I would have to move someplace that's a half hour from big cities, someplace else in the world. Maybe just outside Paris, maybe just outside Rome. Been to both, they're both gorgeous. Some of those backcountry villas and chateaus. Oh, I would live to live in one of those that has been restored to its past resplendency. And the people there at times are so sanguine. I was, the trope about how French are so rude? When we were in France, wow, the people were so friendly. They would react with you. The only thing you really had to do was instead of asking a question forthright, you had to have a little bit of pleasantries beforehand, like was it not in Spanish? It'd be Buenos dias, senor or senora. You'd use that pleasantry for the cities or the country that you were in. So I think I'd choose the backwoods of France near a chateau where I could go get their wine on a daily basis. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Great choice, Tony. Great choice. And finally, let's go with Sandy. If you had to change something about the world, what would it be?
I've thought about this a lot, surprisingly, because I have so many fond memories of growing up. Growing up in a small town where everyone was nice to each other, where everyone helped each other out. This past weekend, I was in the Morganton Festival. And I talked to my husband. I looked over and I said, I feel like I'm a kid again. These kids are running around free of their parents and having a blast. Where has that gone? I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and we had one rule in our house. Well, we had a lot of rules, but we all had to be home at dinner before the streetlights came on. I remember adventuring on our bicycles with my friend and discovering new, exciting things. One time, we thought that we discovered oil. And so we scooped up a jar of it and brought it back, only to find out it was like from the ditch next to the hospital. So I'm not really sure that was a good discovery. In fact, I was kind of told not to go back there. But we've transformed, sometimes in good ways. Technology has been a good thing for the most part. It does seem to affect our communication skills, our one-on-one with each other. And I feel that our children, grandchildren, are missing out on the fun and the laughter and just taking care of each other and being nice to each other. If I had to do one thing to change the world, it would be that everyone would be nice to each other again and enjoy life. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
Great answer. I do miss the times when you could go out with your friends and play and just nobody knew where you were. But you had to be home in time for dinner. That's all the questions that I have.
Joe, what a great set of questions. I was sanguine because I was ready to answer time travel. Oh, what was okay? Kindness, mandate kindness.
Mhm.
Live anywhere in Europe with Tony and Phil. And who did I miss? There was one other good one. Oh,
Carlos.
yes, I have a bizarre desire to run an airport.
Okay.
Okay. Give up dead people running. I weird career choices.
Why is that?
Why is that? I'm an oddball, but aren't we all? Just a
Yeah.
little odd, just a little freaky. Thank you, Joe. Great questions.
Back to you.
Thank you. Before we get to the evaluation part, which is great little mini speeches off the cuff by our evaluators, I want to share with you that in 1956, Elvis Presley appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. Some people on this call might remember that. I'm not going to point fingers. And we'll talk about National Teddy Bear Day in a little bit. I would like to turn this over to our first evaluator, Phyllis Comble, who evaluated Kim's speech. Phyllis?
I was so sanguine when I saw I was going to be Kim's evaluator because Kim comes to us with a lot of solid presentation skills, a lot of experience giving speeches, talking in front of people, connecting with people. But then I went and looked at this evaluation form and I realized I haven't used this particular evaluation form very much, the way it's presented for when you want to have your evaluator just focus on vocal variety. So it has this cool rating scale. And I found myself going, wow, this is a great way to use this rating scale. It includes topics like loudness or volume. And I could say, well, her volume was pretty good. I had a problem with it. Of course, I could have manipulated that on my computer. Uh, was there vibrancy or dynamism in what she said? Yeah, I found, I had some phrases there that she said, why? She said, firsthand. And how could I help? I heard all those, and ooh, that's very good. Then there's a section on pitch. Was it successfully varied? Yes, but within a smaller range than I wanted. And I'm going to come back to that. But her pitch was full bodied. There is no thinness to her voice. It's a very good voice quality, and that's the next topic. Her voice quality is engaging and open and clear. Her articulation, the next section, effectively used pauses, very calmly took us through this story. Timing and rate. She was fluent. There was consistency there. It was deliberate. Vocal variety, emotion was there. Authentic emotion. Genial. But there was a little bit of discomfort, but it was legitimate. It had to be there because of the story. So how can I tell her to do something different? She really rated, and I thought, oh, maybe I wanted that opening to be a little more like a suspense novel. Maybe with some questions. Where were you? What would you have done? How would you have handled this? Maybe a little more theatricality. Maybe some intentional changes in pace because there were places where things were happening so fast. And there were times when you were just astonished by the volume of need. Maybe some stories with examples. But I don't know what to tell you other than to watch the video and think about using some intentional theatricality because you are so solid. You have such solid basic skills here that I can't see a lot to suggest changes on. You tell a great story. Thank you, Kim. Back to you, Tina.
Thank you, Phyllis. That was very thorough. Great constructive guidance. Melissa is our second evaluator. Will you share with Carlos what you saw and heard?
Absolutely. Thank you. Carlos, I love how you demonstrated how the machines operate with the little toilet paper rolls and sheets of toilet paper. That was very helpful. I'm not gonna lie, that was like my favorite part of the speech. I felt like I was watching a DIY how it is made video, and I really enjoyed that. You were so clearly spoken. Your pace was fantastic, not overly rushed, but also you didn't speed through it too fast to make us feel like we were missing anything. Understanding that you got this job during very uncertain times and that you took on the challenge with a sanguine determination, I really enjoyed the way you described how that little car of yours was basically useless in the snow. I have been there. It's awful. If I were going to offer any advice on something to work on, I'd suggest adding some details of what it felt like learning this job, maybe a small anecdotal story. But you spoke so clearly and so reverently when you were speaking about the devastation around Helene and how it affected everyone in some way, shape, or form. A little vocal variety to emphasize the challenge that you faced might be a good add-in as well. But your hand gestures were phenomenal. You did so well with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa, for that good information to Carlos. I agree. I enjoyed his demonstration very much too. I'm a visual learner. Before I turn this over to our general evaluator, I need to let you know about National Teddy Bear Day. It was an unofficial holiday celebrating the beloved children's toy. But in 1902, Theodore Roosevelt refused to shoot a bear cub while hunting in Mississippi. The incident made national news. Clifford Berryman published a cartoon of the event in the Washington Post on November 16th, 1902. And the caricature became an instant classic. The Berryman cartoon of Teddy Roosevelt and the cub inspired New York store owner Morris Mitchum. He created a new toy and even had the name in mind. Mitchum wrote President Roosevelt to ask permission to name the new toy Teddy Bear. And this happened on September 9th, somewhere in the turn of the century. Our general evaluator, Thomas, what did we do well? What could we do better?
Thank you, Tina. Well, Toastmasters, another very successful meeting, I would say. We all learned a little bit. We all got to feel a little bit, and we all experienced some new stories. We did get started 1 minute late. Just bring that up there just to say we did. Not a big deal, but just keep that in mind. Keep an eye on the clock. Tina had some great fun facts about today, 9/9/25. Well, today in history, essentially. Always a good theme to go with. If you're never unsure of a theme, you just want something to have a little bit of fun, throw out a little bit of interesting facts, some knowledge. Go with the whatever the day of the day is, the blank of the day. There's about 1,000 of them out there. You could probably choose almost any topic because every publisher puts their own little one out there. So great job. Great joke. I like little stories by our joke master. And great vocal variety on that first story. I like that a lot too. Our functionaries did very well in explaining their roles, like very, very well. I want to give you all a round of applause for that. If we had anybody new in here, I think they would find that extra, extra helpful. So if we can do that every time, that would be awesome. I would say, and I'm not trying to nitpick or point anybody out, but Sarah, if you could raise your hand next time when you're the timer, that way it keeps you in the upper left of everybody's screen. Even if they do like a full screen view, they'll still be in that upper bar in their screen. So if you kind of hover over the Zoom meeting window, you'll see a pop-up bar at the very bottom, and you can go to React, which is a little heart. You have to click on it, and then there's a raise hand button. It's a little bar at the bottom, and you can click that, and it will permanently put you up here. It just makes sure everybody can see you no matter what. Other than that, again, I didn't mean to single you out or anything. It's just that was the only thing I saw about our functionaries that we could smooth out just a little bit. I want to talk about our table topics respondents. Well done. Great job, guys. I think we had a little bit of everything there, from making it up and completely spinning the question 180 to answering the question directly. So very well done. Very well spoken. We had great vocal variety out of all of our table topics respondents, too. I really appreciated that. Last but not least, our evaluators. Phyllis, awesome evaluation. Great job giving positives and what to work on. Even though you said you couldn't find anything, you kind of you understood where she was, where she wanted to go, and you gave her specific feedback on that. That is a very good job, and I think she's going to grow a lot off of that evaluation. Melissa, another great job. Same sort of deal. You gave him some glows and grows. So you told him what you liked about his speech, how the visualization was awesome, and then you told him what you thought would be better to improve it. So very good, and you sandwiched it well too. So you did a good job sandwiching it. That finishes my role as general evaluator. Very well done, everybody, and we stayed on time. So very well done again. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Excellent job, Thomas. 1971, Attica. The riots at the prison, at the Attica prison, somewhere in New York. Only certain people here would know that, because the rest of you are all too young. How about our functionaries? Alicia, did we use the word of the day?
Well, Madam Toastmaster, I heard it a little bit. Let's see. Tina, I heard you sneak it in. Tony? Phyllis. Actually, Tina, I heard you use it twice. I had you down. Kim, you used sanguinely. I was kind of like, is that right? I'm not sure, but okay, we'll give you credit, but that one's kind of teeters on the edge there. Oh my good, but good try. Oh my goodness. Let's see. A lot of good turns of phrases. I had a nice stumble at the beginning. Ashley, now I have my eyes out. Tina felt naked without the timer in her presentation. I would think we all do. That is amazing. Sarah will raise the whatever card. I just put that down there, but we raise the card. She gets a gold star, Tina. Wiener Schnitzel. I know, I couldn't spell it. You should see how I spelled it on my sheet here. Yeah, phonetic, that's always a good thing. Debut. Carlos, plot lines, characters, turning over a new leaf. That's always a great visual. Adina, I heard you start a sentence with well, but I love superpowers and you settled on niche and teleport. I mean, come on, you got to use the word teleport. That's fantastic. Smart months from Sarah. I will have to try it. Tony, I don't have to take my socks off at the end of the day. Who doesn't want to? Yeah, I mean, come on, that's a great day too. Chateau twice and villa. How to use that word. Let's see, Sandy, she felt like a kid again. Venturing in bicycles on her bicycle. Scooping up a jar. I'm not sure I'm going to pick up a jar and look at it the same way now, with especially if it's something dark in it. You want to know what that was. Be nice to everyone. I think I'll end with that. Oh, Thomas, I heard your catch for the day was well. Well done, well spoken, well done, well spoken. I'm sure Ashley was probably going to catch that, but oh, I had Melissa use the word of the day. I'm sorry, my friend. I did. So, as Tina would say, I'm not going to point fingers. Fantastic job, everyone. Keep it clean, keep it real. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Madam Grammarian. How about our filler words? Were you busy tonight, Ashley?
Madam Toastmaster, I was a little busy, but not very busy. I can handle that. For the most part, everyone did a fantastic job. And I just want to say a side note that the curse of Toastmasters is that I no longer can listen to any work meeting. I no longer can hear my mentors and the people that I adore because all I hear is well and so and and luckily there weren't that many of those tonight. I don't have any particular order here, so I'm just going to get started. Phyllis, I heard you with 2 false starts, and when I say that they were tiny, I might have made one of them up. Good job. Tony, I heard you with 1 so. Alicia, according to me, you're perfect. Same for Melissa. Kim, you were pretty perfect as well. Joe, let's talk about Joe for a minute. Joe, I heard no so's. I heard no ums. I heard no whales. I was ecstatic to not hear them. That is amazing. Huge growth. Sandy, I heard none from you also. If you notice, I'm just making sure everyone knows that they were perfect. That's what I want them to know. And even if they were small, they were little. You barely did anything. Thomas, you had 1 false start, and well was your favorite word tonight. And that is okay. You still did great. Adina, I heard 1 Xerox. A then that I think was a false start for a different sentence. It just kind of fell off. And 1 still pretty amazing. Carlos, I heard nothing. You were great. Sarah, I heard no I heard no so, I heard no Huge growth from our newer members. Tonight was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Very, very minimal filler words. Thank you all. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Great listening, Ashley. Thank you. And not Brain died. Sorry. Last but not least, Sarah, how did we meet our time goals? Ashley already went. I can max up now. Did we meet our time goal, Sarah?
All right, I have Phyllis with 3 minutes and 25 seconds when she was supposed to be in the 2 to 3 minute range. Little chitty chatty there. I got Tony at 1 minute and 52 seconds. He was in range between 1 and 2. I have Melissa at 1 minute and 49 seconds. She was in range between 2 and 3. I got Thomas at 3 minutes, 18 seconds. He was not in range between the 2 and 3. Kim at 7 minutes and 27 seconds. Not in range between 5 and 7. Sandy, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Just a little over the 2 minute mark there. Carlos at 6 minutes and 40 seconds was in range between the 5 and 7 minute mark. Adina at 1 minute and 40 seconds in range between the 1 and 2 mark. And then I was able to time myself, and I just want to say I'm very proud of me for the first time going over 1 minute answering a table topics question. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Great job, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for that information. I think my job is done this evening. I am going to turn our meeting back to our presiding officer. Alicia?
Okay, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fantastic. I love the way you guys did that. Actually, that's really great with know this, know that. Nice way to turn that